Okay, there we
Hey, what's
go.
up? How's it going?
There we go. Good, 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 good. Thank you for coming.
No
How's everything
problem.
going?
It's going.
You
Just
know, you gonna watch the fight tonight?
no. I don't really watch TV.
Ah,
So
you gotta watch the fight, but whatever. Okay. I'm excited to watch it anyway. So watching the previews. But anyway, thank you for coming. How do you want me to refer to you? You want me to refer to you as Dunce Therapy?
yeah, Dunce therapy. We can say D here. I try not
They
to.
call what? Hey, what is that?
You can say D. Yeah,
D.
Dunce
Okay.
therapy or D. Refer to
Okay.
me either or.
Okay.
Because I don't do too much with putting my name out there
Okay.
on the internet.
All right.
Well, in reference to TikTok, because I see how they cancel people for whatever.
Mm.
So all I
Yes,
got to
they
do is
do.
one idea that everybody doesn't agree with. Boom, the employer knows everything.
Yes. Well,
I had a debate. I was going back and forth with this large creator. I forgot his name. Something Rosenberg, Liam Rosenberg, I think. And I said something to one of his responses, and he called me a communist and called me some curse word. And I responded back and said something about something fallacious. So I told him to do something with my stuff. And he's like, "Oh, how about your employer? How would they feel about that?" And I'm like, "You just
oh,
cursed." I'm like, "You just cursed at me." And then I'll respond back with something inappropriate. You're like, "Oh, I'm gonna send it to your employer." I'm like, "Okay, do it, sure."
damn. Yeah, people need to stop that shit.
Yeah. But at any rate, so whenever you want to start it, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. So I want to. So just want to welcome you, and give before we end, I give a shout out to your channels and everything like that. So remind me of that. Let me not forget that. But I wanted to start off with the preference of why I'm doing this is mostly pretty much because my perspective is that the TikTok is not great to have for having debates, especially in the comment section. They reorganize them, and it's pretty shitty to try to follow through a conversation in that format. Also, I don't want to put it like I'm above criticism. Like, so people like think that, oh, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, we can have a live discussion on anything that so I want to show that I'm proving that I'm not above criticism and that somebody can come and, if they want to, the door is open. And the more of these I get in my repertoire, people will know that I'm like, okay, so if they really want to challenge anything that I say, they have the ability to. And I don't want to have the argument like halfway where it's like a clip here of less than a minute, clip here less than a minute. If you have a longer format, you can actually get down to the nitty gritty of stuff. And I guess I'll let you kind of give your background of like the incident that kind of led to us coming together. Just let you like your perspective, and then we can kind of get into the details of everything.
Okay. Just my perspective of the whole everything. Just how.
No, I guess like what brought us together, like the I guess you can go into like the consciously thing itself to give the background, because if people are just their first time seeing this.
Okay. So initially, I think if I recall correctly, one of my followers, which like, happens, I'm sure you've experienced it. They tag you in videos that they just want you to respond to.
Hmm.
Uh, but I saw that I was tagged. I didn't necessarily respond because sometimes I just sit there and wait, or sometimes I don't respond at all. Then I saw another video. I think somebody was responding to something you said, and then it seemed as if you were attacking Black women. So now, one thing, I promote a pro-Black page, and that's just one thing that I do as a person. So I was like, okay, let's address this. Um, and again, on my page is a lot of pro-Blackness. I'm not one of those anti-white pages. There's a lot of pages like that, but that's not me. Um, but so I felt like, hey, I got to do something. But it's not even just that. Like the things that I saw that you're saying, I was like, I don't agree with this. I don't agree with that. And then again, what I hate and why I'm doing this as well is when we see people say stuff and express their ideas on TikTok or written form, we're like, we respond with a less human tone. So that's why when you responded to how I responded to you, I was like, crap. I was like, I'm doing it again. And I literally wanted to make a video about that. Like, hey, we forget that people are still human. Like, you might disagree with them, and then you want to respond with your primitive brain and just like, oh, this, that, and the third, or be a jerk or be condescending. But if that person was in front of you, you wouldn't be like that. Like I'm like right now, how we're talking right now, I'm not talking to you the same way that just because I seen your text or your respond and stuff, I'm not going crazy on you. Now debates might invoke some type of emotion. Oh, I'm sorry. See, I ramble. My bad. But anyway, so the basis of it is I saw a message. Not saw a message. I saw one of your videos. I didn't agree with it, so I responded. And consciously, he posed that question, which again is a lot of just racial. TikTok is very racial in the adult segment,
Mm,
and
yeah.
so it was a lot of racial discourse about it. And so I just engaged with your video. Then you responded to my response, and then we went back and forth. And then like I had a whole comment, and I guess again you got a bunch of followers, so I'm sure that comments get lost. And then you responded to a comment, I responded again, and now we're here as two men having a discussion,
Yeah.
which I think is dope because it's supposed to like literally it could just be like I've seen you like yo F him. And like every time I see you pop on my page, yo F this dude. It's not like that. It's like, all right, let's. If we want you trying to duke it out. All right, let's go with it. That's probably bad phrasing, but if you're
No,
trying to like,
it's no, I like that. I respect that. Here's a little thing I want to say about that that maybe you didn't know is that you can only go back 2,000 comments on TikTok. So
mhm,
you see, like I have like a decent amount of followers, and if I get a TikTok that jumps off, like I can only go back 2,000 comments, not on that post, but 2,000 comments out of all my comments. So I
mhm,
have some videos that have like, I think I have one that has like 2 million views. And so the comments on that video counts towards my 2,000 limit. So like basically, unless I get back to something very quickly, like if I let it go beyond like, let's say 4 to 7 days, right? And I obviously I get a lot, like then it won't let me go back further unless that person goes back to that specific comment and then that pushes it back up. So like that's one thing. That's why I don't like it too. Because like if my shit pops off and then people are like, "Why are you responding?" I'm like, like TikTok isn't great for that. Maybe it will be in the future, but right now it isn't. And just so we like on the same page, the question that consciously posed, just so we can say it, like so people can be brought up to it, is it goes, Black men, without blaming Black women, why do you exclusively date outside your race? Right? Yeah. So basically, that's kind of like what popped us off. But I wanted to give you the stage first to kind of like ask questions to me or anything that you wanted to get to, so that way, you know, we make sure that you felt like you're heard throughout this whole conversation, everything.
so I just it's gonna be the typical format. Like, so the person who has the affirmative, like, well, not the affirmative, I believe, because oh wait, no, technically, am I the affirmative? Because you're saying, is this a legitimate question? And I'm saying that it is a legitimate question.
Oh, okay, yeah. So then that would be you. Yeah, you would. I guess you would be the affirmative because you're saying it is. I'm saying it's not a legitimate question. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, you don't have to do a super form. It's up to you. I mean, like if you
yeah,
want
I'm sorry. I was in a debate club for like 2 years.
to.
So, but I wanted honestly, I wanted you. I had it set up in my mind that you're gonna go first.
Okay, okay. I'll go first. I'll go first. So
So it's just gonna be back and forth. Like, hey, you go first, I go, and then if you want to ask two questions on that time frame, you can. You go, and if I want to ask two questions,
yeah,
let's get
yeah.
to
And
it.
if you go longer than I really am not like stick. Like I don't care if you get more time than me. It's not like a big deal.
Okay.
Uh, like if you get more time than me and I feel like there's stuff that I wanted to cover more, I'll just say that. And then if you don't have an additional conversation with me, then that'll be what happens.
Okay.
um so uh one thing I wanted to clear up that was like super important to me in this whole thing was kind of like how people were coming at my girlfriend, and they were coming at her hard. um and do you, so like in your video you said, like what's, the fact that my girlfriend will participate in this will make you question her character. And I would say, my girlfriend wasn't aware of the video, and I said that, and I don't know, I think I said that in a couple comments and maybe even a video. But then I would say, like, for you, like, what if you still have that perspective, why do you think for sure that she was, knowing what I did with her in that stitch?
So when it comes down to her character, if she was knowing of what was going on. Because typically when you play the stitch before you record it, it says everything out loud. So then they should be aware of, oh, okay, well, this is what's happening. So if it was a situation where she was aware that you're like, hey, I'm going to make these jokes targeted towards, seemingly and definitely in my opinion, targeting towards Black women, I'm making these jokes, and you hear them, and you're like, you're okay with that. Like that's being okay with either racism or attacking women or just attacking Black women specifically. And I don't think that that should be acceptable for anybody. But again, if you're saying she had no right, she had no, she wasn't aware of what was happening, then again, I don't directly question her moral character if she had no idea what's going on. You're just asking her questions and recording it.
Okay. Yeah, because the reason I said is because I've done multiple stitches with her where she wasn't aware. Basically, I set up the stitch and then I save it as a draft. And then once you save it as a draft, it doesn't repeat it. So like what you're talking about, where it plays the stitch, it'll play the stitch when you're first picking out the stitch. And then if you go through and save it as a draft, when you go back and do it, it won't replay the original thing, so you can hide it that way. So that's kind of what I do. Um, okay, so that makes sense. No, because some people were adamant that for sure that she was aware of it. And to me, I think the one thing is every video you see with her in it where I do the stitch, you can see that it's not staged because I do actually do the live reaction. So she has no idea. You can like if anyone goes back through, they can see her reactions are real. They're not like I don't do any stage stuff. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Like, you can, I guess, ask me something back in return.
So is it like at this point just say my positive, my stance on everything?
You can say whatever you want. I don't want to be.
Because I think maybe I just did it all too formally in my brain. Like I literally just
We can do a
I,
formal one if we have some more preparation and we'll hash out the thing. But like in this one, I want this to be more of a discovery thing, because if we find out that we have um, a real hard stance against each other on something, then we can have a formal debate about that. Because I don't know if we have really hard stances against each other. So this is kind of discovery. Why I don't want it to be formal.
okay. Um, so the topic was Black men without blaming Black women. What is the reason for you exclusively dating outside the race? And we're talking about if this was a legitimate question. So it seems as though that you don't believe this is a legitimate question for a few reasons. What are the reasons that you don't believe this is a legitimate question?
Um, because there's part of me that doesn't believe that there is a person who is actually determined to date exclusively outside of their race as a rule. I don't believe that that person exists. Um, um, Partly because any reason that they give as a legitimate reason to not date Black women as a rule would be something that doesn't apply to all Black women necessarily, so because I don't think there's a such category that you can do like that. Also, I think that someone's bullshitting if they say they don't date Black women and they wouldn't date someone like, let's say, Beyonce, Rihanna, Holly Berry, if they had all the money and had the fat ass and everything. Like, if they were like this crazy woman and they were like take care of him, cook for him and everything, you'd be like, no, I wouldn't date them because they're Black. I think they're full of shit. So that's why I don't think it's a legit question, because I don't think the people like that actually exist.
So when it comes down to, so it seems as though that you don't believe. So basically, they're the people that you're saying that they're suggesting, not suggesting, because it's a group that does exist, but you're saying their reason for existing is BS. So it's like because there are a collective of Black men, there are multiple instances of Black men who say they only date white women. There's multiple groups on Facebook where it's like, hey, it's for Black men who date white women. Then there's videos with millions of views on TikTok, hundreds of thousands of likes of Black men saying why white women are better or why they prefer to date white women. So there is a collective that believes that, but you're arguing that their belief is BS because it's rooted in racial stereotypes.
Yes, and they're not even. they won't even cling to those stereotypes. Like if you had a woman that was like objectively better put against, you know, what they prefer. So let's say I'm a black guy and I only want to date white women. If I was presented a black woman that was like objectively superior, I would go with the black woman. I think that they're saying that because that's been their existence incidentally, probably like had hard times with that particular quote unquote race. But I don't think that if they were put in a hard situation. So for example, let's say I was like, I don't date black woman, but I had only two women to choose from, and one was a white woman who like had a mustache and was super dirt poor and you know, whatever like you want to talk, like all these bad qualities, and you had a black woman who was like fine as hell, you know, 36, 40, 24, 36, rich, and you know all this stuff. Like you're full of shit if you would say that you would go that route. Um, and it's just it's so their actual choice is based on generalizations, which are not true as a rule for a particular race, and so their reasoning is invalid.
So believing that the reasoning is invalid is sorry. Okay.
So basically, like if I say like that's why I did the joke, right? So I say because the baby mama thing, right? Do all black women have baby mamas? No. Do all white women not have baby mamas? No. Do credit score? Do all black women have bad credit score? No. Do all white women have great credit scores? No. It doesn't, but it doesn't matter anything. If I say stronger, are all black women weak and all white women strong? No. If I say left-handed, right-handed, are all black? It doesn't matter what quality I put in there. There is no quality that I can answer. Um, iPhone user, you know, they have a 75-watt light bulb in their house. Like any fucking quality I put in there, it's not going to be exclusive to any race.
Um,
I can't hear you kind of like low.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said this is more of a discussion than a debate. I don't have all the microphones set up and all that stuff. I just got
Oh,
my
okay.
um. So, because but the thing is, even if even because the existence of the group of men still is there. So that group of black men who exclusively date women, white women, is there, even though that we're in your belief and the areas I agree with you on that is true, but that group of men still exists. That group of men who literally are just like, I date white women for this reason, or I date white women for that reason.
Yeah.
How superficial it is, but that exists. So since that group still exists, his question is legitimate because he's saying, hey, black men, those specific, that group of black men, and later in the video he specified, which I didn't really even notice, he specified, he said, hey, I'm not attacking interracial dating, I'm just talking to you, specific men. He's like, hey, if it don't apply, let it fly. So he was like, for this group of black men, whatever black men who date exclusively outside of your race, what is your reasoning for it? And just because their their reasoning, um, just because their reasoning for exclusively dating for whatever their reason it may be, that doesn't mean they don't exist or doesn't invalidate the question just because their reasoning might be stupid. So
Yeah, I can go with you that it doesn't invalidate the question. But what it does do is like you know what kind of answer you're going to get at this point. So like let's say you do have these people, we've already described what they're like. You know they don't have a valid reason, so they're going to say some stereotypical shit. Like everybody who exists like that, they're going to say, "Oh, you know, they know how to be faithful, or they know how to submit, or whatever stereotype you're going to put, that's what's going to come out of their mouth." And so to me, um because it like the only way you could really answer this is by stereotype. If you're in that group, I decided to make a joke out of it because I'm like, is a I guess kind of because I don't like consciously I actually like your approach much more than Conscious Lee's. I think Conscious Lee's a race baiter, but that's kind of like why I did what I did with him, is because I didn't like the question that it was like kind of forcing stereotypes, and he does a lot of that race baiting type shit anyway.
So yeah, so race, but here's the thing. So, uh, so I understand. So it's kind of a what do I trying to was it? It's not directly pointing out the hypocrisy. It's kind of bringing hypocrisy to the table though. It's hypocritical, but I think you're doing it with a purpose. I can't think of what how you would say that. So it's trying to point out his hypocrisy by doing it. Is that what you're trying to do?
Yeah, yeah, by kind of like agitating the people who are looking for a fight by giving them the extreme case of what they're looking for, I guess you could say.
Okay, so like over exaggerating to point it out.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. Yeah, over exaggerating.
So, what ends up happening in that situation. So now, one race on TikTok is gross. It's things that people haven't really said in front of each other. They won't say these things typically. They won't say them at work. They won't say them. They might say them in private with their family, but I don't know what's going on with race on TikTok. But it's a hot topic, and it could get your views to go crazy.
Hmm.
So I understand that people. I'm not going to say this just consciously. I vibe consciously on a lot of topics. I disagree with them on topics. I say I go back and forth with that. Uh, but all in all, what ended up happening was when you disagree with Lee and black women became the butt of the joke. I understand that you're like, hey, I'm trying to point this out, but that did two things. That's is promoted is also even granted you had a point behind it. Most people might not know that point or that purpose behind it. And so when they don't know the purpose behind you saying, um, hey, comparing your white girlfriend to black women, and they don't know the purpose, they just think it's another situation of, oh, another black man just attacking black women for whatever reason. And that is a meal ticket on TikTok. So do you see how that? And I understand what your purpose was doing for doing that was, but you see how? Let's see. All right. So as a person who I claim to be pro-black, and it's my shirt, I'm black on purpose. So a person who claims to be pro-black, and there are several of us in the collective on TikTok. Do you see how that's problematic for us? For you have an issue with consciously's question, and then the butt of the joke is black women.
Um. Okay, so I see how I brought this to myself, and I actually don't have a problem with that. What the only problem I have with anything that happened is how people started actually attacking my girlfriend, because she, like I said, she was not a part of this. And then people are saying like, you white bitch, I'm gonna fuck, this like in like fucking going hard. I'm like, calling her like some thin lip bitch and saying you should rot in hell and all this kind of crap. I'm like, and I have the videos. I saved them, recorded them. But so like that was my only thing is like, if you like what, and that's the reason I took that video down, is because people were coming at her, right? And she didn't want to be attacked. And I'm like, I'm fine with actually us duking it out, but like you gotta actually attack me. So like if I have like, kids and a family, like, and that something goes on politically, it's fine for you to come at me, but you can't like start attacking my family. Like so like that's the only problem I have with it. Um but all the backlash I got, I'm fine with that, because at the end of the day, I looked at a lot of the videos to see if he gave any validation to any response to any of his videos, and everybody in the comments, no matter how generous the people were with their, I have like 3 videos of 3 different dudes who are actually kind of saying the same thing I was saying, with how it's unanswerable and how they're struggling, and they were more genuine and like thoughtful with it. And even in those comments, people were like, "You're still blaming black women," blah 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 blah. So like every single video I saw that I actually thought was genuine, people were still saying, "Oh, you're still blaming black women. You're not answering the question," and those are all thrown away. So I'm like, well, what's the point of me actually trying to be that articulate and try to like give the best answer possible when I already see answers that are as good as I can give, and they're being trashed? And so like to me, like they were saying, the black women were saying that they were being attacked even in the best videos, and I can even send those to you, share those with you, which ones I'm talking about. But there were real good ones, real good ones.
Oh, yeah, I believe you. I've made videos about, because there's also, and what I've begun to notice is that I know that a lot of people say if it doesn't fly, if it don't apply, let it fly. I know that that's a moniker that people like to continue to say, um, even though it's not as simple, it's not as easy, and then some things are detrimental. So literally, if I'm a black person, I'm a pro-black person. There's a collective of um, women and black men. There's a collective of black people who are calling black men the weakest link. So I made a video in which I was like, hey, this, I was like, so I listed a lot of, I didn't list the specific things I do, because as a person, I typically don't brag about myself. So I listed that, hey, I'm doing this, doing that, doing this, and all of this stuff in the community to try to help black women in the black community all together. And I don't like when I get on here and I see, oh, black men are the weakest link. Like, this is something that
Mm,
you can't really quantify this. I was like, I just don't like it. And there was a lot of black women that literally just got on there and was attacking. And they, again, just like attacking. And I'm like, hey, you know that one, I didn't even say it was specifically black women. I said members, if you go through the whole video, I said members of the black community who are attacking us. But there's a collective of black people, because there's men in it too, saying, hey, black men are the weakest link. Literally in my video, some of them are agreeing, like, yeah, black men are the weakest link. I'm like, okay. And then someone like, oh, why are you attacking black women? I was like, at what point did I say black women in the video when
mm,
I addressed that? Like, the only time I said black women, I was like, all things I do for black community, for black women, for this, that, and the third. Then at the end, I was like, I hate when I see members of the black community attacking us. And they started saying, oh, you talking about black women? I was like, what I realized what I had to do, and what I still do now, because the video is still up. I didn't take it down. It was problematic for some people. I even had to block some of my followers. Like, they used to always support myself. Hey, this, that, and the third. And then when they was like, you always attacking black women, I was like, literally every video you commented on was me saying, I don't like being called the weakest link. We're not the weakest link. You can't quantify that. So why are
mm.
you saying this? And at no point, because again, I'm not I don't like I don't like confrontation. I'll be shaky after, and I feel like I need to do something. I'm like, no, that's not. But anyway, so I understand. I'm saying all this to say that I understand people getting on your video and saying that. So those, what I've been doing, and literally, if it's a person who we can't have a civil discussion, I literally tell them this. I'm like, hey, if it's not a civil discussion, at a certain point, I'm going to block you. Like, I don't care if you call me one of those people who, oh, he just blocks people. No, if you're not having a civil discussion with me and you're just saying all these baseless claims and just going, like, no, I don't need that on my page. The block was invented for that. So bye. But also, I don't agree with anybody who was attacking your girlfriend. Again, you did admit, you said multiple times, I think I've seen you say it 2 times, that, hey, she was not aware of what I was saying. Um, and that's a part of the culture that I hate. Like, I put up a video about a cop, because the cop, like, said Black Lives Matter, and you heard him click his gun. And I was like, yo, that's a huge issue. Like, bro, don't you understand that? So I put the video up, instead of messaging him saying, like, hey, what's this about? And clarifying with him, hey, what's this about? I put it up. It got thousands and thousands of views, maybe 70,000 views. And then I messaged him on my other channel. I was like, hey, I'm sorry. I put that video up. I made it private. I was like, I should have messaged you first so we could talk. And he was like, people are sending me death threats. People are
Whoa.
like, people are calling, they're sending me and my family death threats. They call, he's like, they're literally trying to ruin my life for a TikTok. And I was like, yo, I was like, and I apologized, went back and forth with him. And like, at that point, I was like, I'm not setting it up so that I'm just going to attack somebody so y'all could dig and find all the stuff.
Mm,
There's a lot of people who do that on TikTok. I'm like, y'all could do that. And there's some people who definitely need to be exposed, and they need to lose their job, like that nurse that took a white power sign. Yeah, cool. Now, if it's a cop and he did something that could be interpreted, misinterpreted, it doesn't have to be specifically, like, if he had did something exactly racist, again, I still wouldn't support the death threats. That's not me. I'm never that person. But if he did something specifically racist, yeah, call his job. It was something that was left to interpretation, and y'all trying to destroy this man's life. So from that lesson, I learned 2 things. Um, there's going to be a group that's just going to vehemently, I always mess this word up, vehemently disagree with you.
yeah.
And I'm just going to, I don't address them and I don't deal with them, and I'll block them if they get to that point. And the next thing is, I'm not with the attacking people, because they're like, you might think in your head, hey, I'm this type of person, so my followers should be similar. You have some hot, cold follower, like some extreme, like literally, even after this, if we had a discussion and I said something that your followers wasn't feeling and you put it on your page, they just, all could just come on my page saying crazy stuff, trying to find out where I'm at. There's literally, if you go through my page, it's very hard to find who I am and where I live. But I recently put a video up that got a lot of views, and you can track me down from that. But again, I don't want
Huh.
people to know me because of that. Um, but yes, again, I'm sorry I
Huh.
rambled.
No,
But
that's an interesting story. Like,
but yeah, they definitely people attacking, and then also when I first recorded the video, I think I said something more like direct about like your girlfriend, and I don't think I said something. No, it wasn't about your girlfriend. It was more so I wasn't even addressing you civilly like the first time. I was like blah 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 blah, you this and you that. And I was like that's not how you have a discussion. So I went back. I was like, hey, all right, so let me just the Socratic method. That's something I like to do. So like, let me ask him some questions. All right, so what about this? I was like, I question this, I question that, I question this, and I didn't want to attack your girlfriend because literally at excuse me, she was just answering questions that you asked her. So I had no evidence that hey, I don't know, she's like in the background, hey, yeah, fuck those black women. Like I don't know if she's like that. But yeah, so I forgot her.
no, no, so it's funny because one of the things that I do like about her is that she is a fan of she was a big fan of Lupe Fiasco, and one of her favorite songs that she likes from Lupe Fiasco is "Bad Bitch." You
Mm,
know that song where he's
yeah.
saying like how you shouldn't be like, you gotta be careful how you use that type of language.
Hmm.
And I was like, so it's the type of music that she likes to me is more of like the music that I would say that the black community needs to pay attention to more, as far as in hip hop, like Lupe Fiasco. So I'm more of like into the conscious stuff, not all the way like to where it gets corny, but I like some of the people who be putting those messages out. Um, and it's funny because some of the people who are criticizing me and criticizing her were actually using that term to describe her and even themselves. And so it's like, okay, so you're against demeaning women, but you're using that term, which you should know, is degrading to women, but they do it anyway. And it's I'm not trying to be like, oh, you shouldn't do that, but it does destroy your credibility about calling me for demeaning women. So like if you want to actually have that power in what you're saying, you can't do at the same breath demean women by calling them bitches, because then it just sounds like you're just picking and choosing.
Which is funny though, because I like initially when I saw it, I was like, he kind of looks like Lupe. But yeah, it's definitely it's amazing. It's an amazing song with the context. And, but again, that's Lupe Fiasco. He's one of the greatest rappers to exist. Um, like literally, and you can't really debate that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the top one, if bitch bad, like, and just how the duality of it is more than duality. It's just multiple. He hits it from like every single angle. But yeah, so it's crazy however hypocritical it is to say, hey, listen, you got this, like you got this bitch over here,
Yeah.
but protect our women, protect all women. That bitch over there, we're going like you can't do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so all right, so the illegitimate part of the question is the guys' ideologies for why they don't date um, black women. So I didn't. So from the videos and where I came into the picture, I didn't see that. So I can understand that. But again, I still believe that it's a legitimate question. That also, I think some of the things are necessary. I understand that a lot of people are considered race baiters, um, but I think some topics are necessary to be brought up. I believe that we should have the question that he brought up, or I think it was a woman that initially asked him to pose it.
I can't remember.
Um, but
Yeah.
somebody asked him to pose the question. But I think that question is important because there are some people who don't check their biases. So for whatever reason, they might have been raised in a home where like black women are this, black women are that, and just throwing black women under the bus, and then they get older and they're like, oh yeah, black women are this, they're trash, they're this, they're bad, and so they believe that white women are the better choice. So I think that question was good to bring up to get people to reflect on their biases because again, there's probably some people that I would assume that there are some people who never check their biases or never question themselves when it comes down to it. So that's another reason why I believe that it was a legitimate question. I do know that there are several race baiters, and I'm not going to say that this was specifically to race bait, but I do believe that it was legitimate question to help people understand their biases.
Okay, so here's another. I want to see if you found this, because another reason why I thought it wasn't a legitimate question was because I didn't see Lee himself acknowledge anyone as having answered it. So like I never saw like any video where it's like, oh, somebody answered the question, or somebody, this is a good response. I didn't see any video where he said that. And something like, okay, so how is it possible that he's got all these responses for a legitimate question and he doesn't acknowledge any of them as an answer? And then if it's possible that no one's able to answer it and there are legitimate answers, but if it goes on for this long without one, then he could just give people multiple choice. Here's an example of a valid answer, and he never gave that either. So you'd be like, here, a valid answer could be culture, or a valid answer could be, whatever, it could be, but he not only didn't acknowledge any of the answers that were given as valid answers, but also he didn't even offer what would be an example of a valid answer. And that's the problem that I have with it too.
Now, there was an instance that I saw where he responded to a legitimate one, which was pretty funny. It might have been on Instagram. I follow him on Instagram, and because again, like TikTok will take down people's videos for violations more commonly than Instagram will. But I saw his response to the video. Apparently, this person was a childhood friend. Um, I don't know if they still are friends, but he responded to the video. At first, I don't know. I didn't see the context before because he responded, and apparently he probably said like something negative or something crazy, and then eventually he redirected his statement, and he went into he's like, well, I what did he say? Was it the area that he grew up in? I think it was basically the he's I think he acknowledged that I don't remember everything verbatim, so that's why I don't want to misquote this man. But the first thing that he expressed was the scarcity of black women where he was from. So it was like he grew up in this area where it was majority white women. His high school's majority white, and I think he said he had like no or one black woman at his high school. And he's like, it just led to him dating a bunch of white women. And he was like, so it was really just the opportunity didn't really present itself. And so I guess in how he interpreted it was, in my life, I have exclusively dated white women. So it's not the fact that that's what I exclusively prefer, but he exclusively dated white women, and he explained that it was because of that. And that was the one I saw him respond to. I don't recall him responding to anybody else, um, but I can understand that. So like, hey, I'm just asking this question to get a bunch of views and a bunch of interaction. I can understand that. Um, but yeah, but he did respond to
Do you remember what his response was to that?
what Lee.
Yeah.
Oh, I think this was, and it might have been before because I think they just added the feature, or was it more recently where they added the feature where you could talk during a duet? I'm not sure, but I remember him. I forgot how it all went. I just remember him stitching the video, or was it Stitch, or was he side by side? I forgot, but I remember them talking about how they were childhood friends and just going back and forth. And like I remember Lee nodding his head and like looking like and nodding his head to some of the things he was saying. So yeah, I don't remember him saying things specifically. I think it was a duet. I'm pretty sure it was a duet because I don't remember him verbally saying anything, but I remember him nodding his head, listening. Like, oh. So I don't
Okay.
know. I'll look through his page and see. I'll write a note. I'll look through his page and see, and if I find it later, I can tag you on it.
Yeah. So if he accepts that one, then then an example for an answer that's valid would be, I don't date black out exclusively outside of my race, or in other words, I don't exclude black women purposely. I do it incidentally. So that's an example of an answer. So yeah, okay. So then, okay, I would say then if he does actually allow that incidentally as an answer to the question, then I would say that then it is a valid question. I haven't seen proof that he does allow the answer incidentally, and for sure, I've seen his followers critique that reply. I know I've seen like the commenters like, oh, that's not an answer to the question. I've seen that so many times, and I screenshotted those ones too. So but his followers definitely throw away when people say that one. But I'll look. I gotta see if he actually, because I didn't see any video where he was like, oh yeah, well if it just happenstance you're dating white woman only or something like that, that's a good reason. To me, that kind of takes away some of the insight that you can have, right? Because that can be an answer for any pattern of dating. So like, why did you date Mexican? Why did you date Asian? Why did you date, even if there's a mixture, like only Asian and Middle Eastern and black? Like if you only do, and then you could say happenstance for those. So the question, like basically the question ends up, the answer to the question ends up being the reason why anybody dates anyone, which is basically, circumstances have been that way. And so if that's a valid answer to the question, I would like to see him say that that's a valid answer. But also then the specificity of black is irrelevant, because everybody dates who they date because of circumstances to one degree of or another, you know.
Um, so are you saying that you're excluding, saying that you said because circumstances. So do you think that colorism or racism is any of those circumstances?
um yeah, yeah, but it's not the controlling factor though. So like, okay, so I guess is what he's trying. Okay, so this is what you made me think. So is what he's trying to do is to show that anyone who makes this decision is doing it for racist reasons? Is that what he's like? Is that the attempt? Is the attempt to try to like pull out that people who are doing this are to some degree racist?
I, I wouldn't say that's entirely what I believe the purpose is. I think that it's getting up to confront racial biases. I think it's or racial, like, well, I guess Richard says it is considered racial bias. So I think that that's what it would be to get them to bring it out. Not to, I don't think he would try to label everybody as a racist, but I do think that it would be to expose, to get people to, I guess, to question themselves and possibly pull out, like, hey, I might have some racist things that I need to address. If
Mm,
answer it.
okay, yeah, and this gets to the core of my problem with conscious sleep. And the problem that I have for what I see of him is I would want to have a live discussion with him and be like, consciously, what are your racial biases? Do you have racial biases? Because I think that by him like challenging everybody out there with the problems they have gives him this type of this kind of air of credibility, like he's above everyone else and he has sorted out all his biases, which I don't think that he has. Um, and and by like, like, and he's kind of like getting people to think of him as this great person because he's showing how all these other people have racial biases, and he doesn't have the what do you call it, the candidness or transparency or humility or vulnerability to actually acknowledge that he also has some moral flaws himself. And that's one of the things that I don't like about what I see on his channel. And so like, yeah, okay, call people out on how they're racially biased. And I would even say that I have some racial bias. It's fine. I have those, but I will not accept for a second that consciously has rid himself of all of that.
Yeah. Now, I have seen him address some of his biases or his situations where he was wrong. I've seen him express that. There was a famous, because again, a lot of his fan base comes from his being his attacking gender normal
Oh yeah.
gender norms. So his discussion with gender norms and also his promoting of trans women and their rights and just like the discussing the what I'm looking for, the discussing just the taboo situation of men dating trans women. And so a lot of his fan base came from that. So one of the large trans activists, she's a black trans woman, I forgot her name. She responded to him and said, hey, I know that you do this and I know that you do that. She's like, but you got this wrong. And then he's like, okay, so and like on his videos, I saw this one. I remember seeing this one on. Sorry, excuse me. My phone says campaign caller ID name. Um, anyway, but in the video, she addresses like, hey, you didn't do this right. And he's like, okay, so I'll fess up to this, I'll fess up to that. So like when it comes down, again, I follow what I've been definitely make sure I don't do because I see a lot of people do this. They put people on this pedestal. They
Mm,
put people that they follow on this pedestal, and excuse me, I even told my followers on me, I'm like, yo, I'm just a regular dude. Like, don't
mm,
like again, y'all gonna see some flaws. A lot of people follow me from the teacher and education video, but again, I'm making dumb videos attacking Republicans and Black conservatives. So like, it's I'm a person. You gotta remember that. So when it comes down to Lee and him and his, again, I haven't seen too many videos of it. It's just him discussing himself, and I don't agree that he's addressed all of his racial biases as well. I know that I haven't addressed all of my racial biases, but when they come up, I'm always like, why do I think that? Why is
mhm,
this? Like, let me make sure that I don't apply this to everybody. Because like as soon as that pops up, I'm like, oh, I gotta make sure it's not like that. Like as soon as you see a white, as soon as I see a white coworker, I work in a majority Black area. As soon as I see a white coworker, I'm like, okay, could you be like? I don't necessarily think this, but one of my white coworkers was talking about the attack on the Capitol, and she's like, "Why would they do this?" And in my head, I was like, "Oh, she's a Republican." And then she's like, "That was terrible. They did. He sucks. And Trump sucks." And she ended up being a Republican. And I was like, "Okay." But
hmm,
one racial bias that I've been confronting myself is the relationship that white teachers will have with Black kids. And like a lot of times, it seems as if they just want to. It might seem sometimes as if they just want to punish the kid. And I'm like, that's no, let me check that. Like, I don't. Maybe this literally could be the what the kid needed,
mm,
or maybe they have the relationship. I can't judge that just because of color of skin. I know that I've had some white teachers. I'm like, hey, I love this teacher. Um, so again, like we all have racial biases, and I think that'll be a great question for him to ask and sit down and talk about when they're like, what
yeah.
racial bias have you? What do you find yourself confronting, or what comes up? But yeah, so I mean, I wouldn't say that he's solely in race baiting because I know that I've become a very pro-black person. I graduated HBCU, and even before that, I don't know. I'm not sure exactly how I ended up becoming a very pro-black person, and it's not to promote black supremacy. Never. Like I literally had a group of friends that I was cool with, and they called themselves Hebrew Israelites, and they were like, "Peace up, black supremacy," and I'm like, I rock with a lot of the things you're trying to do, but again, I'm not trying to be superior. I'm trying to make sure that
Mm,
equality is going throughout everything. And then also, I'm not against interracial dating. I literally, one of my ex girlfriends follows me here. She's a white woman from Oklahoma. She's not too, I'm assuming not too far from you because it said we're actually,
Phoenix.
no, my bad. You're in Arizona. That's not
Yeah.
Arkansas. I'm thinking of Arkansas. But anyway, but yeah, she's from Arkansas. So but yeah, I do think that would be a good topic for him to
Yeah.
address.
I,
Um,
I, it would be good for him to show that, and because everybody's suspicious of me. So like, here's one of the things that I have, like the issues that I've had with the Black community at large. One of them, which doesn't, I really don't see this being addressed, is that growing up, I was called white, or I acted white because I speak properly and because I excelled in education. So I was teased by the Black people for not being Black enough. And the issue with that is that if you have somebody who doesn't fit a particular mold that they're supposed to fit, then they're ostracized by the Black community. And that experience myself makes me give a lot, like not give a fuck about being accepted by the Black community at all, because it's
mm,
like the what would I have had to do growing up to be accepted by the Black community? I would have had to like not excel. I had to speak like a certain way, and the way I speak is not to it is not to appeal to white people, and that's what they'll say, but it is legitimately how I speak. Um and so and I've grown to be resistant to anyone who tries to make me conform to an ideal that they have, no matter who it is. And that could be partly why I'm willing to make jokes that are offensive because I'm resisting any social pressures to tell me what I can and cannot say and how I can and cannot act. So I'm like, to my core, I'm a what do you call it? A contrarian, and I like to go against what people want, try to force me to be like and do. Right?
I have a line brother who's like that, which I think is necessary. Well, if my idea of contrarian is accurate, because I have a line brother who, no matter like what the norm is, like that people say on my Facebook, he'll be one of the people to counteract it, like, hey, what about this? If that's what you mean by
Yeah.
contrarian.
Hmm.
Okay, but yeah, so I have a line brother who's like that, but I feel like that's necessary because again, a lot of people just go to social norms and don't question where it came from or why it is. But what you spoke on, I think that's a very crucial topic that I want to talk about. Black ostracization. I can't say it right
Yeah.
now, but to be ostracized by the black community. Because again, my whole family they say y'all talk white. Again, more so. I mean, my brother was able to more so. It wasn't. I don't even know if it was directly code switch. I think just because he played basketball, he's more accepted easily. Like, hey, you're a
Mm,
ball player.
yeah.
But all I've heard that hey, you talk white just because I speak a little proper. The thing is, I hear myself saying stuff. I don't. A lot of times, I got to catch myself talking to my students. I'll say duh. No, it's the sir. The. Okay, cool.
Mm,
Um, but again, but when you said that, what made me question, I was like, I was, you know what, I was kicked to the nerd community. So that's what happened. I didn't fit in with the cool black kids. And I don't know, do you listen to Earl Sweatshirts?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. With
Well, one of his
Tyler the
phrases,
Creator and Earl Sweatshirt.
yeah. So one of his phrases. Now he's great lyrically. I like only he has one song to me that is amazing. It's called "Chum," and one of his phrases and one of his lyrics was too white for the black kids, wait, no, too black for the white kids, and too white for the blacks. And I was like,
Yeah.
damn. I was
Yes.
like, damn. I was like, yo, that's how it is. So what ended up happening was I just got kicked to the nerd community, and that's why I feel like I'm a nerd now. However, I feel like a lot of that was beneficial um, for me because a lot of my friends who ended up like a lot of them just ended up, honestly, I still have some who are still trying to be rappers, getting closer to 30. And I know that sometimes miracles happen, but rappers ain't really around that age right now. And they're not doing too great. And I literally have one who keeps promoting a video that had like 15 views. And I'm like, bro, like at this point, you need to
Come up
know.
with another idea.
But again, that is a very important topic that I think needs to be addressed. It's probably going to be a part of my next video if I find out how to beat the algorithm because right now it's only letting me get like the max 600 views on videos unless it's one of the videos unless it's a topic that I got the followers for. They try to pigeonhole you. That's what it seems like on TikTok.
Mm,
So I got to try to discuss that because we do ostracize black people based on the I not specifically, but the black community has you weird. Go over there. And
yeah.
like I still get called weird, even like I think up to last 2 years ago, I was called weird just for whatever. I'm like, I wasn't socializing the same way y'all socialize. Like so y'all sitting there during the times when people were going, there's something I'm from Philadelphia. So there's some things in Philadelphia where they're like, hey, you going to this dollar party, you pay $1, you go into this basement, they got lights playing and everybody dancing, girls just grinding on you, some people making out, all types of stuff like that. And you freaking 14, 15, 16. And we
Mm.
see those. And then I just got, I'm like, I'm not going to those. Those suck. And they're like, what you gonna do? I'm playing Halo with my friends. I'm watching Naruto before it even got to America. Like I'm doing like stuff that y'all are gonna call nerdy things. I was in chess club for multiple years. Like all of these things were considered nerdy, and I don't think they were called or considered largely black. Definitely like, and the crazy thing is nowadays you can watch anime and still be can like people are like, oh, that's more welcome than the black community. Back when we was watching, it was like I'm sitting there doing hand signs, and they're like, "What is he doing?" Like, what is he doing? But yeah, so that's definitely a topic I think needs to be discussed. Just black people being ostracized by the black community, and again, like what you're saying, there are a lot of gatekeepers, especially on TikTok. Like
Hmm.
this isn't black, that's not black, this isn't black, and I'm like, by definition, if I'm a black person in
Yeah.
black culture, this is black.
Exactly.
Like
Exactly.
you can't claim that. And so well, unless it was, I guess if you say it was created by white culture, but then that would be appropriation, and that's a whole other mess too. So, um, okay, well, yeah,
It's
I get
funny.
that.
it's funny because I like played Halo. I had Halo parties at my house when I was growing up, and it was like a bunch of white kids too. My girlfriend, she actually lived in Japan for a bit. She's like super. She likes anime, and I know the low level anime. She knows like Naruto and like and she put me on. We watched Howl's Moving Castle. That's the other night we watched that. So like she's in and but also I was a captain of the chess club of at my school too. So like I have very similar and not only was I like I was in a computer program, I did C plus plus programming in high school, which put me with all like the nerdy white kids. And but I my like where I grew up in my neighborhood was like all black people, so I had that group. And then also I was a part of the merit program, which is like this like a lot of the AP courses and stuff like that. So I was like high level of that. But then also I was a wrestler, so I was part of the athletes. And so I had these different circles that didn't necessarily overlap, and I was like always like in between these two, which is actually where my name comes from, which is Lyman Lux on TikTok. Lyman is Latin for liminal, which is threshold, like in between space, and
Okay.
Lux is light, so it's light or knowledge from being in between or in the threshold between two worlds, and that's what is the idea behind it.
Yeah,
I couldn't hear you. You're like low again. Say,
I'm sorry. Yeah. Can you hear me now?
yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, my name isn't as well thought out. I don't even remember where because like I was going to do YouTube a while ago, and I was just like, I want to speak on things I think that we sometimes we need to address, and I want to correct things. So I was like, okay, so if we have dunces in the world, I want to kind of give them therapy. So I'm dunce therapy. But now, however, I do want to discuss something because I mean, right now, this. I think this was great because I'm getting a more clear view of you as a person. And again, initially, I'm not gonna lie, initially we had a back and forth. When I would see you pop up on my page, I'm like, ah, this guy. But after we have a conversation, you're again, and I don't want to seem judgmental, but I'm like, hey, you seem like a pretty cool guy. Now, and again, I don't. Let me see. Will this change however you? Because I saw some things. I think this was like one of your videos that I guess you would consider viral, and it seemed like the guy was kind of trying to promote. And that's why I asked you, are you all lives matter? Because there was a video of someone bringing to the table all of the white people who were killed or um, brutalized by the police during the time frames of black people. So that's why I was like, hey, are you all lives matter? Because I saw that video. So that's what I thought initially.
Was this a black guy who was saying it?
Yes.
Okay, so you're talking about John McWhorter. John McWhorter, that particular, if I know what you're talking about, John McWhorter was showing how anti-racism is a religion. And so that's a snippet from that. He's definitely not all lives matter, but the point of that is that there is a black person who doesn't buy into the anti-racism religion. So he does think there's a problem with police brutality, but he doesn't buy into all of the, I guess he would call them religious narratives that is promoted by the anti-racists. So, um, for example, there is a media bias that pushes for police brutality to be promoted if it is done to black people, and that isn't necessarily a wrong thing. But some people would have it that if you acknowledge that you're not supposed to know that, right? And the people who are against you acknowledging that there's a bias towards that seem to have some type of inner guilt that they know it's wrong. When I'm thinking, well, maybe it isn't wrong to promote, but you can't say it because there's like some type of inner turmoil. It's like you can't acknowledge the media has bias for promoting um black people being brutalized by the police over white people. You can't acknowledge that because that means we're not objective. And perhaps it is an objective, perhaps it is biased, but not all biases are bad. Perhaps it is like counteracting a bias that we've had for a while, but at least to have that discussion is not allowed by the anti-racists. It's like, why can't we have that discussion?
Yeah, some discussions are, and to be as taboo as they are, they should not be as taboo as they are. Just it, that's I think it cripples specific areas of growth in just society in general to have certain things be so taboo.
Yeah.
There was so I talk about mental health a lot on my page every now and then because again, it's something that's around me, something that's affecting the world right now, and whatever bouts I have with it. But there was a teacher 2 years ago on the news who they found out it was either from like a different web page or they found out through something. They found out that he was in therapy because he had been suicidal, and so at that point, parents found out about him. So then they started going in like, he doesn't need to be near my kids. I don't know what he's going to do to himself. I don't know what he could do to others because where he's at. And like that got swept under the rug. I was like, that's not a topic. Like people don't like, we're not going to focus on that. And I'm like, so now here's the thing: it's taboo because you're like, no, y'all can't get on him for his mentality. But then the really taboo part is, but he could harm the kids if he's not wanting to take care of us. So this needs to be a discussion.
Hmm.
So that's true. A lot of things are taboo when we don't discuss that. And also the media, a lot of forms of media are dying. If they don't, there's some of them are not. Well, no, most of them are trying to change, and they still don't fit the standard. Like long-winded media shows,
Hmm.
and stuff like that. You're as soon as the boomers, which are unfortunately passing away. I'm not saying unfortunately, they're passing away. That's the naturalness of life. So when they're gone, C-SPAN, what are you going to do? Like you're
Yeah.
not changed with the times. Studies have been saying that people consume news in short bursts. You're not a short burst. You're an hour show, and that's not going to work. Um, but so when it comes down to promoting, if you see, okay, this happened, okay, somebody got killed, and you take race out of it, you're going to have a lot less views.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
I haven't done all the research I'm sure that there's research that supports this. You're not going to have as many views if you take race out. But then when you put race in, like, oh, white cop kills black kid, boom, everybody's on it.
Yeah.
You say cop kills kid, you have a nice amount of people who are concerned. But then when you put black, boom, it's going to be there. Again, because race, and it's just a sad thing that race is a huge. There's things that are sad that they're meal tickets as much as they are. Again, attacking specific groups of people is a huge meal ticket. Um, Promoting racism, not promoting racism, race baiting, or just getting involved in the mess of race, and it's just so tense right now in this society. Then actually, you know what? And this is something I'm guilty of. Let's be honest. Political attacks. I attack Black conservatives on a consistent basis, just because, well, actually, because there's some of them that are just specifically on TikTok that you're saying blatant lies, and then you're just like, this is cool. Oh, and I'm like, all right. And then some of them you literally attack Black people for whatever specific reason. Like we got now Tyler Bluntman. I just do not like him as a person. That's just being completely like I don't know him. Well, I don't like him as a TikToker at all. I don't know him. I haven't tried to get to know him, but the things that he accepts and promotes and does, I'm like, I don't rock with that at all. Like, and literally, he's been wrong in certain areas, and they don't admit it. Like, literally,
Hmm.
when I'm wrong in certain areas, if I catch myself being wrong, I'm going to admit that to you. Like, oh no, I was wrong here. I was wrong here, and discuss that. But they stick fast. They stick to whatever they're saying, like Christian Walker and all. I'm like, now, again, I do use that ticket though. That's the conservatives attacking conservatives has got me a nice amount of followers. Oh, actually, you know what? Attacking Black Lives Matter got me a lot of followers. Followers. So I just told them about the time I got assaulted by the police, and like that was the bulk of where I got my followers, like 3,000 followers from that. I didn't even think it was going to be big. I was just like, I got attacked I got assaulted by the police. He said, hey, we need your ID, and I'm like, okay. And I would go to reach for my ID while I got my hands in the van, and they push my face into the van and my whole body, and then they're like, we'll get your ID. And I'm like, y'all could have just, if you had better training, like if you were like, if you were just thinking at a better situation, you were like, okay, let me be specific and clear with my instructions. I'm a teacher, and we get in trouble if we're not specific and clear with our instructions. So you, as a cop who has a gun, you need to be very
Yeah.
specific with instructions. So I haven't had interactions with the cops before, so I could have been. I was like, oh, let me just give you my ID, bro. No, get my face pushed on the van. And my cousin said this. I don't know if it's true, but he said the other officer put his hand on the gun. I couldn't see that because obviously my face was on the gun.
Right.
So that's what I got most of my followers from. Um, and so a lot of these things are meal tickets. So, I'm guilty of that, even though I'm talking about the news. I'm guilty of getting on these topics, even though some of them need to be discussed, though, like we were just saying. So,
Yeah. No,
But
no.
all right.
Yeah.
So as it is, it's that the question was legitimate and so it depends. So what right now how it is in okay, so you can tell me if you agree or disagree. In multiple areas it was legitimate, but the legitimacy to you is going to rely on Conscious Lee and his response.
Yeah, if I grant that, because remember I said the people exist, but I don't validate their reasons. So, but if we overlook that the people who are saying they exclusively did outside the race aren't giving valid reasons, let's overlook that. Conscious Lee's question is still invalid, because he doesn't seem to accept any answer and will not provide a category of what an answer would be that he would accept. And perhaps a candidate could be incidentally. So the reason why they outside my race is because of happenstance. It's incidental. It's just that's the way the cookie crumble, the dice roll, the cards fell, right? So if that's the case, that's the answer for anyone dating anyone, pretty much. And so that's that. Like, so I want to see, does he accept an answer? Is it that? That's kind of like where I'm at. It looks like it's a little bit past the 3 my time is 5 your time, right? So did you have any other questions for me? Did you want to like have future discussions, or what are you thinking?
I mean, well, we follow each other as now, and I don't want it to be just because. I mean, if you get to a point where you see some stuff, you're like, I just don't agree with that. I don't rock with that. Or even if you go back in any of our discussion, like, you know what, actually, I don't feel like it. I'm not pressured because of like, hey, you follow me and we had this discussion. I think it's dope because I feel like I got to know you better. So I'm going to follow you. Now, if it gets to a point where I see a bunch of stuff I disagree with at some point later on, and you post up because again, I don't know you in entirety. Eventually, I don't want us to feel any pressure to continue to follow each other.
Okay, yeah.
But while I follow you, if I see something I disagree with, I'll say something. And if you want to have a discussion about it or a debate about it, then we can prepare. Now, if we do a debate, I kind of want it. Now, again, I want it to be formal.
Yeah.
Because, like, again, because how debates were working and how we didn't come. We never came in first place. We came in second place, third place. But no, we won one. I didn't participate though. I wasn't one of the debaters. I was research. So we won one debate. We came in second and third in other debates, and that was just one year where we actually went out to compete instead of just competed against ourselves. But it was just so amazing, like the whole thing. It was somebody gets up and says, "Hey, this is what I believe," and you don't really interrupt them. You can ask some questions, but you don't really interrupt them. They say there however long it is. Cool. Then you get up. You're like, "Well, this is what I believe." And then the other person, they come back up like, well, you believe this because this and third, and you rebuttal. I just thought it was beautiful. Like I love that. So if we do debate, I would like it to be a formal debate.
Yeah.
So if we get to that point, if that does happen,
we can do that. Only thing I need for that is a week notice. So like if we like come up with the time, like I can't, no matter what it is, I have to have a week ahead of time in order to like get prepared for like a more formal debate. So as long as it's that, we can do that. Because I don't feel comfortable trying to do that at like, a couple of days notice. That's too much. Well, I mean, it depends on the subject, but it's not likely going to be like anything that, because I don't intend to make race the predominant thing I talk about. My predominant thing that I talk about is religion and philosophy. But I'm not afraid to talk about race, and I'm like, I have opinions on it, but like more religion and philosophy. But yeah, you can see what kind of stuff I come up with, and if you ever want to hop on one, if I see you like, and I'll even send you stuff that I saw and see what you think about it, and then we can have a discussion. But yeah, I couldn't hear you. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Well, I think it comes in and out a little bit, but I think I can hear you. But yeah. Get one of these, or actually, they got a $35 mic that's like has a what do you call that? What do you call that net that goes over a mic?
A pop filter.
Pop filter,
I have
and
one of those.
you have one of those. Yeah. We got a pop filter, and she ain't even like. What the hell? Thank you for letting me know. Anyway, I'm about to probably eat some lunch and get ready to watch this fight, and have this video edited, and I'll send you the link and everything when I upload it and all that stuff like that. I have permission to upload this. Okay, cool. All right. Well, it was good talking to you, man. You take care. Enjoy the rest of your day.
All right, you too, man. Take care.
All right, bye.